Hovrinskaya Hospital, Russia's haunted hospital of the damned, according to claims. Abandoned hospitals might be number 2 on the list of creepiest places to visit, right after abandoned funeral homes or even hotels. Something about the dirty, dark hallways with ominous graffiti, the abandoned medical equipment and rusty hospital beds, and the spirits of patients who walked into the facility never left, making these hospitals hell on earth for some people and the ideal haunted location for others. There was one such abandoned hospital in Moscow, known as the Hovrinskaya Hospital, that would make anyone feel uneasy just looking at the building. This hospital was compared to the hospital from Resident Evil. It would have been the perfect location to shoot a Russian version of The Walking Dead or some other zombie apocalypse film. What is the story behind the haunted Hovrinskaya Hospital? The Hovrinskaya Hospital, when written phonetically in English, Hovrinskaya Hospital, was an abandoned and unfinished hospital that was designed to hold 1,300 beds in the Hovrinskaya district of northern Moscow in Russia. The construction of the hospital began in 1980 and was similar to other large buildings created in the Soviet Union. The architecture was in the brutalist style. While the name brutalism sounds ominous, it is a rather plain and dull style of architecture. Brutalist buildings are known for their minimalist construction that highlights the raw building materials and structural elements instead of focusing on decorative designs. Most brutalist buildings are brick, concrete, and angular geometric shapes in a muted monochrome color palette. Hovrinskaya Hospital was shaped like a star with branching corridors extending off each point of the star. While a star is how it is traditionally described, it looks a bit like a strange snowflake mixed with the biohazard symbol. Many people compared Hovrinskaya Hospital to the Umbrella Corporation logo from the horror video game and media franchise Resident Evil, created by Capcom Company Limited. And what made Hovrinskaya Hospital so creepy was that construction was shut down in 1985 and the building was abandoned entirely. An abandoned hospital is spooky on its own, but Hovrinskaya Hospital was left in a state that made it ripe for rumors of hauntings. Parts of the 11th floor structure had only partial or fragments of walls and floors, and the multi-level basement would constantly flood. There are many rumors about why construction was stopped, ranging from the reasonable, hence lack of funds. Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the country was suffering economically, to the fantastic, hence hauntings or zombie plague. For 25 years, the Hovrinskaya Hospital sat abandoned, rotting in Moscow and becoming considered among the unofficial list of the most terrible places on the planet for many reasons. Horrors of Hovrinskaya. There were many rumors of hauntings, murders, satanic rituals, suicide, more that were said to have occurred with Hovrinskaya Hospital. One of the most notorious stories about the hospital was the Nemoster satanic sect called the place their home and performed sacrifice rituals. Now, according to the legends, the sect was responsible for a high number of disappearances, and police and the riot squad organized a raid on the new Nemoster sect in the hospital. And when the raid took place, the members refused to back down. They were driven into one of the basement levels and were either done away with, or the police placed explosive at either end of the hallway and detonated them to trap the sect members in the hall, then flooded the basement, according to what people are claiming. Several other groups of Satanists were rumored to use this abandoned hotel as a worship site over the years, and there was a considerable amount of graffiti that had been described as being demonic, satanic related. And along with devil worship and black mass ceremonies, Hovrinskaya Hospital was said to be incredibly haunted. Many people said the hospital was built over an old cemetery, and the graves were not relocated, just buried under the medical center's foundation. People who have visited the Hovrinskaya Hospital have claimed to see full-body apparitions of spirits once the sun sets in Moscow. Some report clearly seeing a ghost, and others have sworn to have seen weird cone-shaped silhouettes moving around the building. Along with seeing ghosts, visitors claim to have heard strange and unexplained sounds, along with children screaming and crying in empty rooms and halls. Most abandoned places attract urban explorers and thrill seekers, which is true about Hovrinskaya Hospital. The property was not guarded at night for many reasons, and people would wander around the unfinished facility, often running into trouble while they were there. And you won't often see homeless individuals along the streets of Moscow as you find in other large cities across the world. Instead, many homeless people squat in abandoned buildings like this Hovrinskaya Hospital. Urban explorers have shared stories of being chased away by homeless individuals they stumbled upon at night, and injuries were experienced. The building was left unfinished, was prone to flooding, and people have reportedly tripped over rebar or fallen into holes, breaking their legs while wandering around the facility. The hospital was also the site of several people that ended themselves, one of the most well-known in 2005. Now, ominously, several murder victims had also been found at the hospital. They still consider the property is abandoned, and most locals stay out of the building. It is not much of a surprise that opportunistic people would use the space as a dumping ground. The Blair Witch Project-inspired mockumentary was made on site in 2013 called Prizrak iz Kovorno, Ghost from Hovrino. The movie's plot is that four friends decide to investigate the forest around Hovrino Hospital, where ancient sorcerers were rumored to sacrifice people. And the friends intended to do a fake documentary about a ghost in the forest, but the group encounters something unnatural in the woods, and only the cameras survive, the ghost from Hovrino. Now, if you like the Blair Witch Project, then you like the movie since it's done in a very similar fashion. If shaky handheld camera footage makes you queasy, this movie is one to avoid then. So what happened to the Hovrinskaya Hospital? If you decide to take a trip to Moscow and want to visit this, you're out of luck. In 2018, the hospital was completely demolished, and all that remains is an empty lot surrounded by pine trees now. Back in 2012, there were plans to demolish the facility and build 2 new buildings, and the land was put up for auction. Unfortunately, the land was valued at almost 1.8 billion rubles, which most people felt was a massive overestimate, and nobody bought the land. So the Hovrinskaya Hospital sat in limbo until 2014, when an announcement was made that the site would be demolished and a new healthcare facility would be constructed in its place. Towards the end of 2015, the government again stated that they were planning to demolish Hovrinskaya Hospital, but the demolition was finally complete in 2018, and materials from the site were recycled for other construction projects, which is typical in Moscow. This is by Lauren Dillon on Historic Mysteries. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.